Ichiro Oda has shown us many Yonko commanders who we thought could be so much more, like characters like Zoro, who's under Monkey D. Luffy. Of all characters, you decide to be under Monkey D. Luffy, but also Zoro has Conqueror's Haki coding and wants to be the world's greatest swordsman. He could be a captain of his own right. Or Katakuri, who's the second son of Big Mom. Yes, under the Yonko Big Mom, Katakuri was a legitimate fighter, but also not just Conqueror's Haki. Katakuri was an awakened Delphi user. We even see Big Mom awaken her Delphi ability, and he also had future sight, so definitely was captain material if you're being completely honest. Or even Kaido, with him having all these all-stars like King, the Lunarian race, or Queen, the cyborg, or in Scientist, or Jack, the drought, of course, with his ancient Zoan. They all were impressive, this half-fishman ancient Zoan Jack, but Yamato was just different. Yes, the daughter of Kaido, the only princess, like, who Kaido wanted Yamato to be the shogun for the future, and Yamato was a mythical Zoan who also had Conqueror's Haki, so like, and Conqueror's Haki coding as well, so definitely, even Ace said it, Yamato should have been a captain. We can even look at the past with characters like Silver's Rayleigh, who was known as the Dark King, and this Haki beast who trained Luffy in all three types of Haki, but was under the Pirate King Goldie Roger, and like, he pretty much was the Zoro of the past. Or Kozuki Yoden, who was a Conqueror's Haki user, who Whitebeard said before he joined that I had an incident with a former crew, and then also joined Pirate King crew Goldie Roger in their final voyage to, of course, Laughtail. And then you can even look at the Rocks and having Whitebeard, Big Mom, Shiki, Kaido, and many more legendary pirates under Rocks D. Zebek, who they actually would become legends. They would actually go on their own route and become captains and whatnot, unlike the other characters I mentioned. But for some reason, the one Yonko commander that's been shown in the One Piece story that interests me the most is probably the Whitebeard Pirates. And I'm not talking about the mythical Zoan Marco the Phoenix, or the Diamond Man Jozu, who blocked a slash from the world's greatest swordsman Mihawk. I'm talking about Portgas D Ace, who took Kozuki Oden's commander spot and was leading a division that had Blackbeard a part of it. Well, let's be honest here. People always like to undermine Ace, but he was the Pirate King's son, and I think his potential was to be top 5 in the One Piece story. And honestly, if you watch the end, you understand why I'm giving Ace so much hype, honestly, and why I think he's such a goated character. Like, when we first get introduced to Ace, the way he's arriving on Jump Kingdom, the fact that it wasn't snowing on some weather manipulation type shit, like, that's just insane, guys. You have to understand, awakening wasn't a concept. It's actually not even a concept to Logias till this day. We still haven't seen a Logia that's been awakened. We all assume that Logias can manipulate the weather just off of the Punk Hazard clash between Aokiji and Akainu. So for Ace to manipulate this weather in Jump Kingdom was a crazy teaser in my personal opinion. And of course, as Ace was looking for Luffy, and then of course Alabasta, we saw Smoker, who notices the second division commander and says he got some nerve showing face. And of course, even the people know how dangerous of that tattoo, of course, belonged to Whitebeard. And everyone was shook. Everyone was definitely like shook when seeing this crazy like moment here. And of course, Ace just says, "I'm looking for my kid brother." And this panel just hits different, knowing of course the ASL flashback and the Marineford War, and even Sabo's involvement in the story. And then of course, Smoker tells Ace, "Give yourself up," which I found funny, the fact that Smoker's telling Ace to give himself up. And of course, Ace tells him, "Get the hell out of here." And in hindsight, this was a huge mismatch. Smoker, who was, of course, he was a stronger Marine captain at the time, but Ace, the things he was able to do, like things he's already done, yeah, this was definitely a mismatch. Now, don't get me wrong though, Smoker is no punk. Like, he was looking for another pirate, aka Monkey D. Luffy, but was still trying to take down a big name in Portgas D Ace of the Whitebeard Pirates. You gotta respect Smoker just for that. And Smoker says, "As long as I'm in the Navy, I will pretty much try to take you down." And I rate it, I respect it. And Ace thinks that's a dumb reason, of course, because he thinks we can just get along. And then, of course, out of nowhere, we see Luffy with his Haki jumps on Smoker. Obviously, I'm joking, but I don't understand how Luffy is able to affect the Logia Smoker into a physical body. Maybe someone can answer in the comment section. Of course, Ace gets involved in this craziness, and then of course, as he gets up and shows his kindness and apologizes to the people's house that got ruined, which I'll be honest, I don't know how these Logias got blasted that far, if I'm being completely honest. He sees Luffy, his brother, and as he's about to say something, Smoker yeet Ace out the picture. And as Smoker is about to hit Luffy with a white fist, and Luffy knows how dangerous Smoker is because he's a Loki and Luffy doesn't have haki. I know that sounded wrong when I said get hit with white fist, but still, Ace out of nowhere hits with these solar flames to stop the attack, and this is where we see smoke and fire clash. And Ace says himself, "You're smoke, but I'm fire. We're too evenly matched." And he pretty much says this is not going to get settled now, aka this will be a longer battle. And as Luffy and Ace finally reunite, I'm just looking at it as like, wow, fire and smoke, it is an elemental clash, but at the end of the day, that means the Logi abilities have to go and the physical combat had to come in. Smoker with, of course, his weapon, and Ace with his haki. Ace was, as a regular human, was physically stronger than Luffy, who had his Delver ability. So you gotta give respect to, of course, Ace as a monster. And I always thought that Luffy gave Ace the biggest compliment by saying, even though Ace had no Delver ability, I couldn't beat him once. Just showing you how powerful and how abnormal Ace was. Ace was different, and he says, I can beat you now, which Ace is pretty much just dismisses and says, what? You can beat me now? Of course, we all know Ace would low diff a pre-time skip Luffy, even if Luffy had gear 2nd and gear 3rd, which he didn't have at the time during Alabasta. Ace then invites Luffy and, of course, his crew to join the Whitebeard Pirates. And imagine this Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji as commanders on the Whitebeard Pirates. If they didn't become Pirate King crew, I don't know how they wouldn't. Like, imagine like gear 5th Luffy, Conquer Haki coding Zoro, and Sanji, of course, with his Germa abilities and, of course, his speed and haki and all that, Blue Flames. Wow, Whitebeard's crew would be even more overpowered than it actually is. Of course, Ace then goes on to tell Luffy that Whitebeard will be the GOAT and how he's going to make him the King of Pirates. And of course, Luffy says, it's no big deal. I'll just fight you and beat you guys. So Luffy always talks a big game. And where he's at right now, he's definitely not just talking a big game. He's cashing his checks. Of course, they also gave us a glimpse of how Ace was stopping Smoker and the Marines earlier with his fire. Just, you gotta give respect. Yeah, yes, smoke and fire evenly clash, but fire has a better advantage on other characters like the other Marines compared to smoke. Just showing you how different Ace was. Ace then gives Luffy, of course, the infamous Weaver card to keep them together. And man, that paper definitely kept them apart after you all know Marineford War. I know it might be too soon, but it's still, I had to hit that joke in there. Ace then talks about these outlaw named Blackbeard who killed a crewmate of his and was also on his division. And pretty much says the next time we meet will be on the high seas. Of course, the next time they did meet was on the high seas of Marineford War. So it was intense. When we then saw about 50 these billion agents that are about to be numbered, of course they're not about to be numbered agents like from the Baroque works, pull up with 5 ships and just one man on his boat in Portgas D Ace on some Miyok type shit, if I'm being completely honest. What a go. And it was one fire fist. And as Ace says, see you in the high seas, Luffy. Wow, like them actually fighting would be fun to see. Obviously Luffy versus Ace. Luffy finally whooping on him with some gear 5th, but we never got to see it, of course, because we all know what happened. Now, of course, the next time we hear or see of Ace is, of course, during that infamous meeting of 2 of the strongest in red hair Shanks, who tells Whitebeard to stop Ace despite his youth, and he was, of course, trusted with the 2nd Division commander, which we all know the former one was Kozuki Yoden, who's, of course, Shanks' former crewmate. Shanks says Ace is strong, I know that very well, but that fame and trust complicate things. Not yet time for them to face each other. Of course, speaking about Blackbeard. It's like Shanks knew Teach is a final villain level opponent, and Ace would have to fight him in, of course, years, not just in a moment, just because of an emotional thing. And of course, Luffy fighting him at Jaya. Like, remember Luffy was fighting Blackbeard at Jaya, of course. It's better imagine Luffy just fought him at Jaya and just lost. It would be better if Luffy fought him, of course, at the end of the story with gear 5th. That's what Shanks wanted. Shanks just wanted Ace to be at his best to fight Blackbeard. And now we see Shanks in the current story is actually looking for Blackbeard. And of course, they're the only 2 Yonkos left from the past regiment of Yonkos, if you think about it. And then, of course, we saw the interaction of Blackbeard and Ace tells Blackbeard, don't call me commander, in which Blackbeard refers to Ace as Firefist Ace, changing his tone a little bit. Cheech then hits Ace with, of course, long time no see, and Ace says, stop acting dumb. You think you're twice my age. You think, come on, you know what's going on. And so Cheech then asks him to join his crew saying Whitebeard era is over and how he will become, of course, he says, I will become Pirate King. And imagine a timeline of Blackbeard and Ace. That would be scary. Blackbeard already having Von Augur, Jesus Burgess, Doc Q, and Lafitte, adding Ace there. And we all know the level 6 prisoners and Shitty the Rain and how Aokiji joined. Man, oh man, Blackbeard, it'll just be even a harder fight for red hair pirates, if I'm being completely honest. Ace joining and the progression that Ace would get as a character too, insane. Blackbeard then says, I'm going to capture Monkey D. Luffy. And that's when Ace says, I can't let this guy keep on yapping. And Ace says, come on, bro, that's my younger brother. I really can't let y'all go. And of course, before he even says no to being their Nakama, he gets shot by Von Augur. So the fight just starts rapidly. We then see Ace react with, of course, a Higan for fire bullets. And of course, he's just shooting Von Augur as he's dodging every single fire bullet. And as this is happening, Burgess, of course, throws a damn house at Ace, which is just wild the way that Von Augur and Burgess are fighting. Ace, of course, then burns the house with Enkai, Hibashira, and of course Fire Pillar, and Teach, of course, scolds them by saying, y'all don't stand a chance, stay back. Like, Blackbeard just feels like they're just wasting his time, like Von Augur and Burgess, like, you guys don't have haki on that level to fight Ace. This impressive Lokia. As this is going on, Ace then does a Hikan, of course, sends a huge fire fist towards Blackbeard himself as he screams in pain. So Ace is not joking, yo, he is dead set on defeating Blackbeard. And then of course Blackbeard says the Logia Yami Yami no Mi, and will show Ace this powerful dove fruit, and Ace replies whatever. Like, Ace like, I do not care about your powers and what you have. Like, he has little care to it. And after Blackbeard does a demonstration to Ace using, of course, Hota Ruby or Firefly Light, Hidaruma or Fire Dharma to cover Blackbeard in a fire blanket. Of course, she teaches is like Ace is a little shocked that Teach isn't able to dodge, of course, him being a Logia. But we all know the Yami no Mi is different. Of course, Blackbeard then sucks in Ace with that Delver ability and punches him badly. Mind you, Teach could have been a commander without a Delver ability. We learned that, of course, during the flashback. So this is no ordinary punch. This is a very physical punch by Blackbeard. Of course, Ace is sent flying and is bleeding as Blackbeard goads him by saying, it's been a while since you've been punched, damn. Just showing you how long it's been. Yo, Blackbeard was saying pretty much, I am not no scrub. Ace deduces it's only if he gets caught is how he's gonna get damaged, but Blackbeard sucks him in again with gravity. So Ace logic is, might as well attack while I'm getting sucked in with the Shinkan Shiranoi, or it's called God Fire, Mysterious Light on the Sea. Like, these are some crazy attacks Ace has with his flame fruit. Of course, the flame spears pierce Blackbeard, and Ace takes a punch to the neck at the same time. And Ace even says it, that his neck was almost broken by Blackbeard. So just showing you how crazy this battle is. Ace then, of course, shoots a Juji Ka, or aka Holy Cross attack, but it seems Blackbeard's ready to absorb it. And Von Augur is amazed. Like, he's amazed by Ace losing his Delver ability in this Yami Yami war, but still putting up a fight. He says no wonder that he's a Whitebeard commander and has a very high price for Ace. And this is the enemy Von Augur, who's very logical too. So just show you how much of a monster Ace was, even pre-time skip. We then, of course, see Banana Rock falling and the town being destroyed as Blackbeard asks one more time for Ace to join him as Ace is on the ground. And Ace says, if I give in to force, there will be no point in my life, and I will never leave any regrets in my life. Got that, idiot? So Ace is letting Blackbeard know where he stands, and it's some very powerful words, but Teach replies, survival is all that matters in this world. So Ace, of course, goes Dai Enkai, Great Flame Commandment, Entai, of course, Flame Emperor, and it's a final attack moment time. This leads to Teach saying flaming light or darkness. Only one can win. It's the contrast of fire versus smoke in compared to fire versus darkness. And Ace replies, I will make Whitebeard the king as they clash. And of course, this event was triggering to Marineford War as Ace lost to Blackbeard here. Later on during Thriller Bark, Kuma asks Nami, does Luffy have a brother? And she says, yeah, Ace. Funny thing is, Kuma trained Luffy's other brother, Sabo, unknowingly. So I thought that was very cool. I thought I would just mention it. Of course, later on, we also see a conversation between Garp and Ace. And of course, we see remembering Garp telling Ace he hoped him and Luffy became Marines, and lets Ace know he told Luffy about his father, and Ace replies, doesn't matter, me and Luffy both have the blood of infamous criminals. We would never become Marines. And this shows that Ace already knew that Dragon was Luffy's father, and then says, I took my mom's name, my dad ain't give me shit but half my blood. So Ace has a resentment towards Goldie Roger. This is the first time we actually see this, but we don't know his father's actually Goldie Roger. We didn't get the Uzumaki Khan moment yet. Ace then goes on to say, the only father I have is Whitebeard, after we see him, of course, in that montage of him becoming Whitebeard's son. You gotta respect it, yo. Because I honestly, people say blood thicker than water, but I'll be honest with you, family beats everything, yo. Of course, during Empo Down, we see Ace telling Jinbei how reckless Luffy is, and since a young age, and how we always had to worry for that idiot. Of course, this is Ace learning the news that Bo Hancock's saying that Luffy's on the way. So of course Ace is gonna panic because he knows how Luffy is, and Jinbei was trying to calm him down, but he's like, nah, I just know my brother, yo. And in the beginning of Marineford War is the epic moment where we find out the Pirate King Goldie Roger is Ace's father through Sengoku, and how Roger entrusted Ace to Monkey D. Garp. Man, Ichiro Oda, the way you constructed the story is magnificent. And of course, then we get a montage of him leaving 3 years before Luffy, leading the Spade Pirates, shocking Garp, of course, and Sengoku taking an interest in this Logia user who's also a D user, and is the only D user actually to have a Logia fruit, if you think about it in the story. And Whitebeard says, of course, you could count Blackbeard as a second one, but Blackbeard's Logia is a little different than Ace's. I'm talking about actually like Logia. And of course, Whitebeard says he's making a name for himself, and of course rejected the Warlord spot. So we see that Ace is defiant to the world government. Like, they offered Ace a Warlord spot. They never even offered Luffy a Warlord spot, if you read. It's crazy to see. And I thought it was very funny how Shanks was about to give Ace the Eustace Kid treatment, but of course Ace says, calm down, chill, I'm only here to say thanks for saving Luffy. And Ace asks, of course, to meet his second Yonko, and of course Jinbei, worth 1.1 billion berries currently, says, yeah, that's not gonna happen. You're not meeting Whitebeard. We see this battle, of course, goes on for 5 days, and what to expect? You have Jinbei, who became a top Yonko commander as soon as he joined the Strata Pirates, and Jinbei didn't get any power-ups, I'm gonna be honest with you. He was always top Yonko commander level. He was a former warlord, for goodness sakes. And he fought 5 days with Ace, just showing you how powerful Ace was as a character. He was able to tangle with Jinbei for 5 days. And of course, it was a water versus fire battle, which elements is evenly matched as well. And of course, if you think about it, it's crazy because water, actually, if you think about it, they're fighting on land, which Jinbei's fighting in the water, they're strong on the water, but Jinbei also the water actually surpasses fire if you think about it. So it was a very interesting clash that lasted 5 days. And of course, Whitebeard pulls up and Ace separates his crew with blazing net and challenges the world's strongest man. We even see a moment of Ace yelling at his crew to run away, and Whitebeard says, oh, did you lose some nerve? And Ace says, nah, I won't run away. I ain't no softy here. That's pretty much what Ace says, and I love it. I love Ace's personality here. He's just standing on business. And after Whitebeard gives him an ass whooping, Whitebeard's pretty impressed by Ace still standing and tells him to become his son, join the crew, join the Emperor crew. That's not no regular crew. That's a Yonko crew, and of course, not just a Yonko. In my opinion, Whitebeard is the Yonko who stood in front of Roger's throne for 2 decades. And throughout this journey of Ace becoming a Whitebeard pirate, we see there's a montage of him constantly trying to destroy Whitebeard, but he gets low dipped. Ace, like, honestly, which was cool. It's pretty cool. And after 100 attempts to kill Whitebeard, Ace talks to Marco and makes a decision finally to join the crew. Now, of course, in the novels, we learn that Ace was actually able to burn Whitebeard 1 time, so it wasn't just like Whitebeard low diffing 100 times. There was some attempts that Ace got through, we'll say that. And as Ace becomes a Whitebeard pirate, we learn through these moments of him, of course, making the Doma gang surrender. This is a pirate crew that was part of Whitebeard's fleet that was pretty powerful. And it's offered the 2nd Division commander spot. And he tries to give it to Blackbeard because Blackbeard's been there way longer, but Teach says, I don't have that ambition. Just showing a weird interaction between 2 characters who would go against each other in the future. And when Whitebeard gets the news of Ace having lineage, of course, being the son of Goldie Roger, his rival, he says, that's all you're gonna say? I don't care about that. Like, we're all sons and daughters of the seas, and that just shows you how the way of Whitebeard's thinking. And I definitely agree with Whitebeard's thinking, you guys, honestly. And then, of course, we see moments of Ace reacting to, of course, Blackbeard killing Thatch. We all know Thatch had a really good relationship with Ace, the 4th Division commander. And Ace goes on to say, I can't let Whitebeard's name get shamed by this. Even though Whitebeard, Marco, Jozu, all of them said wait. And even Whitebeard said, is something off about this. Like, you shouldn't go for it. Ace still went. But I thought it was kind of cool that when it gets back to the current story, they kind of say, no, we told you to go. Like, that's how much of brothers they are and family they are, the Whitebeard Pirates. And I thought a very cool moment was when Ace finally gets freed during Marineford War and he lets out a strong Hibashira or Fire Pillar after Luffy freed him. I thought that was very cool to see Ace's powers into the war best showcased. And then of course we see Ace having bullets go through him, and of course Luffy at the same time has rubber, so he deflects his bullets. And then of course Ace takes Luffy's head and pushes it down so he can take the sword attacks, because we know rubber does not, the swords still affect rubber. Just showing it was amazing stuff by Luffy and Ace, seeing them work together. And then of course Ace lets out a fiery fire fist as him and Luffy continue to fight the good fight. And I love seeing these brothers go at it with these, of course, Marines. And even to back up what I'm saying, one of the more powerful Whitebeard commanders, Vista, states like pretty much that they work really well together. And of course they would. They were raised together, trained together with Sabo, and even after Sabo supposedly died, quotation marks, they still were training hard, guys. And as Ace gives Luffy compliments for Luffy becoming more powerful, Luffy says, I'll surpass you someday. And that really hurts because we knew that Luffy never had the chance to surpass Ace. But knowing how powerful Luffy is now, him being a Yonko of the seas, Ace would definitely be proud. And that's the first time, after this was the first time we actually see Ace challenge a top tier in the story in Aokiji, and actually the clash really worked well because it was fire versus ice. So Ace, of course, uses Kyoken, Mirror Flame, in this clash. And if you think about it, recently Luffy went up against his first admiral in Kizaru, and he beat Kizaru with one punch. So I thought that was very cool, just interesting to mention. And then of course we see after this, Ace causes a big fire and pays thanks to Whitebeard by bowing down to him. And Whitebeard just asks him, was I a good father? And Ace says, of course. It was such a goated moment between these two characters who both would end up passing away. Ace then lets Akana know that this era will be known as Whitebeard's era. But of course Ace gets his ass burnt, and which Akana explains, my power completely outclasses you. And it's crazy because it's the truth, yo. Akano's power outclassed Ace because he is Magma, and Magma burns fire. It's like, it just reminds me of those moments where the guy's like, my shoes better, my clothes better, everything's better. Like that one meme, guys. It was just bad. And I talked about how Ace Viva card was the thing that teared apart Luffy and Ace, which is because as that Viva card went missing, and we're not really missing, it was chasing, the wind was chasing it somewhere else. Luffy goes after it, and then of course Akainu attacks Luffy, in which we all know what started. Yes, you're right, of course. It led to Ace getting a hole in his chest by the current fleet admiral, Akainu. Man, oh man, sometimes it's hard to relive for moments. This was one of those times. And even after all this, Akainu says, looks like you're still alive. Wow. Just showing you how devastating this punch was. And I thought this moment was very sad too, because of course Ace knows he's gonna die and tells Luffy, my insides are burnt. And that's a fireman saying this, yo. So Ace literally got cooked. And it was cool to see Ace's final message before death to pretty much tell Luffy, and to Luffy as well, thank you for loving me. Like, he told Luffy to tell everyone of this, the Whitebeard Pirates, everybody. We even see Whitebeard shed a tear when this moment happens, and he goes out with a smile on his face. And honestly, if you guys do not know, even researchers, like the psychological researchers, found out the human is most happy when they're thankful. Think about when that moment you lose something and someone finds it for you and how thankful you are. Man, oh man, that just shows you how happy Ace was when he was dying. And of course, we all can look back at the ASL flashback, and one of the key moments to me personally when it comes to Ace is when he was 10 years old and when he was saving Luffy with Conqueror's Haki and knocked out all these adult pirates that were a part of the Blue Jam Pirates. Like, that's just crazy. Meaning Ace had the potential to have Conqueror's Haki coding, yo. People don't understand how powerful Flyer Fist Conqueror's Haki coding could be in the future. And then we see a moment of why Ace couldn't run is because Luffy was behind him. Just like Roger couldn't run because his loved ones were behind him, and how Garp explained that. And Garp, like, it's crazy because Ace really could have been the Pirate King. When I heard Garp say this, I thought Ace could really be the Pirate King if he wanted to. And it was cool to see during the funeral, Shanks, the GOAT of One Piece, hearing Ace's final actions, thought of his former captain Roger. And these are big words from Red Hair, like just saying like that pretty much all you can think of is Roger. It's like, it shows you how much they're similar when it comes to Roger and Ace. And after the time skip, we have moments that make me think of Ace, like of course Red Hawk. When Luffy first uses that Red Hawk, that's instantly making me think of a Fire Fist from Ace. Or of course during the infamous cover story where there's 3 sake cups, hints of Sabo visiting Ace's grave. Such a huge cover story, and I'm not the biggest cover story fan. Like I just read them. I don't really look too deep into them, but you have to when you have cover stories like this, guys. Or during Dressrosa when we had Guts hyping up the 2nd Division commander of the legendary Whitebeard Pirates and the son of the Pirate King himself, and just talking about how his fists pierced through battleships and burnt cities to the ground and leaving hellfire in its wake. Yo, the way he hyped up Ace, wow, it's sometimes good to be reminded of how crazy he was. Or that moment where we finally see Blackbeard and Luffy talk to each other through the transponder snail, and Blackbeard tells Luffy Burgess will eat the fruit, the Merry no Me, and it'll be like Ace on his crew because Ace rejected him and curved him. And that's what Teach says, and Luffy says, hell nah, I'm definitely not letting you guys get Ace's double ability. Of course, the context of Ace going against those guys. And of course, it was cool to see that Ace's actual brother, Sabo, who we thought was dead, ate the Merry no Me. And Sabo says, Ace, I'm going to use your power, and brings out a Fire Fist. Wow. Or during the beginning of Wano, when Luffy tells Tama, stop waiting for Portgas D Ace, because Ace is dead. And he says it savagely. Of course, this moment led to Tama passing out, and Luffy learns that Ace actually came to Wano. Luffy, of course, then gets pressed for how he revealed Ace's death to Tama, being so blunt. And it's crazy to say, if you think about it, when Ace actually went to Wano, he saw the former 2nd Division commander's father, and people, and his people ate his food, like the pirates' food. And after surviving and stayed for weeks, which Luffy of course loved to hear, that Ace let them eat his food and stayed for weeks. No wonder Tama loves Ace. And I thought it was pretty cool, the chapter 999, where an Ace of course clashes with Yamato and says, I want Kaido's head. Yamato and Kaido, to me personally, are the strongest Peace pirates. Like, people might say, wait, what about King? King to me and Yamato are on the same level, but I still have Yamato a little bit higher because the Mythical Zone Conqueror's Haki coding is insane to me personally. And Yamato says Kaido and of course crew all gone for expedition. And of course Ace's ass is lucky, I'll be honest with you guys, because there's only fodder there in Yamato. And Yamato is pretty powerful as well, but imagine King, Queen, Jack, the All-Stars, and the Flying Six were there. It's game over for Ace. Ace doesn't have enough firepower to go up against that much monsters. And then Ace says it doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense someone this powerful isn't a captain. That's high praise for, of course, Yamato. Like, even higher praise than what I said. And of course, then stays and decides to fight Yamato. And as he's fighting Yamato, Ace says, your heart is actually cuffed. Of course, seeing the sea stone cuffs, says your heart is the one that's actually cuffed. And Yamato decides to break the symbol of Kaido and says, I want to be like Odin, which I thought was very cool. And then, of course, Yamato says she wants to go out to sea, and Ace says, well, there's a lot of cool pirates, youngsters out to sea right now. Like, there's a Cavendish guy that's going crazy, a Supernova, and there's also characters like Cusa's Kid in the South Blue, and Law in the North Blue, and also there's also Capone in the West. And I thought it was just cool how Ace was so intapped with all these monsters that would become Worst Generation members. But Ace, of course, leaves the East Blue for last, saying Luffy in a few years is going to go crazy. And Yamato said this is a warning to Kaido. Of course, Ace burning the symbol, in which when Kaido found out about this, Kaido was pissed, but never got to see Ace in person. And imagine Ace versus Kaido. That would be crazy. If Ace got a little stronger, that would be even more fun to see. And Whitebeard tells Ace, you know who was the commander before you. And Ace wants to go alone, of course, because of his promise. But Whitebeard says, do you know Odin's power and how he lost to Kaido, regardless of how strong he was? And then we see Blackbeard, of course, laughing, saying Odin was super strong, and Ace wants a big shot, and Marcos tells Blackbeard shut the hell up. Ace doesn't care about that, about big shots and whatnot, and Ace realizes he has to get stronger, of course, for Whitebeard to let him go. And Izo says, if Whitebeard ever lets you go, well, let me come through, of course, because Izo's from Wano. And Marco says he wants to go too as well. And Ace says, wow, if you two came, you could definitely beat them right now. And of course, no, Ace. Yes, Marco is, of course, he's vice captain to Yonko, and Izzo is a Whitebeard commander, and you are very powerful as well. No, you guys are not beating the Beast Pirates, guys. I'm keeping it real. Maybe Ace can get really powerful Congress Haki coding and an awakening of the Nika fire. I'm just kidding, I'm trolling. And during chapter 1000, we thought Yamato thought that Odin was talking about Ace, until, of course, Yamato remembered Ace mentioned, of course, that there's Luffy and Luffy's dream and how that shocked Yamato to Yamato's core. And then we see Yamato is now laughing when hearing Luffy's dream, like Ace, of course, and Sabo and whatnot. And Whitebeard laughed when he heard Roger's dream. No, Yamato's crying because, of course, these are the words of the Pirate King and how the synchronicity is insane between Luffy and Roger. Yamato then tells Ace, a great man spoke these words, and Ace says, we should have a drink with him, me, Luffy, and this great man. And Yamato says, well, he's dead. And, of course, also, not that he's just dead, Ace. That's also your father. Yamato doesn't say this, but I'm just thinking in my head, of course. And also, of course, this is a moment of Yamato and Ace. This is the origin of the Viver card. Yamato gives it to Ace, and this is important, of course. And it is important. It's a huge, important pre-time skip plotline. And when Yamato says farewell to Ace, right after, Yamato learns that Ace dies in Marineford, and that Ace was the Pirate King's son, and the brother was Monkey D. Luffy, who's making a name for himself. And now, of course, chapter 1100, this is where we're currently at right now, around this area. Saint Saturn lets us know that a rookie Ace defeated a warlord, and we don't know who this warlord is, but if they're the same level as Kuma, Mihawk, Dofi, Boa, Moria, Crocodile, or Jinbei, around that level, this warlord should be a monster, just showing you how powerful a rookie Ace was. We even see the reaction, of course, of Kuma replacing this warlord, and Ace says, oh, they finally found a replacement. That's great news, as Jinbei says, the last person I would think to say that, of course, because Ace took out this former warlord. And of course, Whitebeard, Marco, Teach are all gathered around Jinbei. And of course, reminds you when Jinbei is letting out the Straw Pirates know about the worldly news that things are happening. And all I'm going to say is this, guys. From what we heard in the story, from Ace wanting to fight Kaido, to Ace fighting a character like Yamato, to Jinbei for 5 days, to Blackbeard, to defeating a former warlord we don't have to know the name of. I got to tell you guys right now, I genuinely believe Ace, if Ace lived, right now, Ace could be stronger than Luffy right now. Just because Ace started earlier than Luffy. Now, am I saying that people have to understand how powerful Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates got during the time skip? Even characters like Kid and Law and whatnot, they got to awaken their Devil Fruits and everything. Now, imagine Ace had that progression as well with his Haki. Conquers Haki coding and awakening to Ace. Man, oh man, I think he's Yonko level. And if you're Yonko level with Big Mom and Kaido falling, you're easily top 5 in the story, and I think Ace could easily post time skip become top 5 in the story. Now, of course, now that Ace is dead, we have to look to Sabo and how Sabo can become top 5 in the story. But right now, I think people have to stop undermining Ace's potential. Yes, I know Ace died at a young age where he really wasn't the strongest character in the story, but he could have been, and that's what makes me really think of Ace as a monster. Especially recently found out the news of Ace and this warlord interaction, which I can't wait to see this battle actually shown.